I'm Des, and this is my cat, Lily. You'll see her in my videos because she's always on my lap. So I recently went to my 5th hot spring in Colorado. Colorado has around 30 hot springs, and even though I have a love-hate relationship with hot springs, it is my goal to see all 30 of them. So I'm going to say the pros and cons of the 5 that I went to. So I went to Indian Springs, and that is in Idaho Springs. I was a little confused by that at first. Indian Springs I did not like. It felt like it was more for children. It was pretty cheap to get in, but it's like one giant pool, and it's not hot like at all. So there's one little spigot that like shoots out hot water, and all of us adults, even some children, were piling up next to the spigot, and we were actually taking turns trying to get warm because we were at a hot spring and we were freezing. The pool's actually pretty cold. So this felt like more of a pool at the Y or something like that. Kids were running around with like water guns, jumping in the pool. They had floaties and stuff. It wasn't really relaxing and spa-like as my friend and I had been hoping for. So Indian Springs is not my favorite. I would say if you have kids, definitely go to Indian Springs because they'll love it and it'll be easy for you. You know, there's some benches, chairs, whatever that you could sit at. There's no food, so be aware of that. Bring snacks, food, whatever, or eat beforehand. So that's Indian Springs. I don't recommend that if like you're in your 20s or older trying to look for a relaxing spa time with your friends or, you know, partner or whatever. I went to Hot Sulphur Springs. So this one had a lot of pools, but they were very small, and the town is very far away from where I live in Denver. So it took, I want to say it took 3.5 hours for us to get there. And the town is very small. There's not much there. There's no food at this resort either. I like it when the resorts have food because just being in the hot springs all day, I get really hungry and I'm really thirsty, so I like to get a snack. But that was not an option at this one. They did have a fireplace right in the front, which I really liked because after the hot springs, my friends and I, we warmed up there, and it was really, really nice and relaxing. So the pools were so small at this hot spring that only like 2 or 3 people could fit in the pools. They had one big pool. That was the best one. It was the waterfall pool. It was the prettiest. Numerous people, I posted on my Instagram, numerous people commented that it looked like Blue Lagoon in Iceland, which I have been to, and it did look like that. The water was like white and bluish cloudy. So that was really nice. That one was one of the warmest pools, I think. The pools here weren't that hot. I like a very hot pool because I'm always cold, especially when we went the other day and it's January, so it was pretty cold outside. The pools were pretty dirty at this hot spring, which was disappointing. I could finally relax, and I was sitting there feeling nice and looking around at the snow, and it was really pretty. And then just a glob of hair would attach itself to my body, and I immediately just became so disgusted. I couldn't walk on the floor. I wouldn't recommend it anyway, but I couldn't walk on the floor without flip-flops because it was so dirty and just like really gross and yucky. There was like garbage everywhere. I literally saw a woman blowing her nose into the springs. It was just gross. I had a really hard time relaxing. This wasn't a horrible hot spring, but it wasn't the best one I've been to. So I recommend it, but it wasn't the best, you know. There was a restaurant that opened up at 4 p.m. We were all starving, so we didn't eat lunch or anything. So by the time the restaurant opened at 4, we decided to go. So we left the hot spring. We were only there like under 3 hours. But, you know, you could definitely want to be there all day. So that was Hot Sulphur Springs. Glenwood Springs, Mark and I went as a weekend trip because there's so much to do in this cute little town. I even want to go back because we didn't even get to do everything that we wanted to do. This hot spring was so nice. So they did have food there, but the food was really, really crappy. It wasn't that good. I'm vegetarian, and there were like no vegetarian options at all. There was a burrito bowl that I ordered, and it literally came with rice, lettuce, and tomatoes. Like, that was it. So there was really no options for me to eat. Mark got some sort of like sandwich or salad or something, and it had, you know, pre-made salads or whatever, and it was like a bunch of chicken in it and stuff. whatever he ordered it. He said it wasn't good and it was pretty expensive. So Glenwood Springs doesn't have the best food options, but there's so many restaurants and everything in the town that you could definitely eat before and after, and that's totally fine. So Glenwood Springs is 2 giant pools, which is different from Hot Sulphur Springs and Iron Mountain and Pagosa, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So Glenwood has the 2 big pools. One is pretty cool. It's not that hot, so all the kids were in that pool. And I believe I remember there being a diving board also, which was cool, if I remember correctly. But so that one was definitely more of like a kid pool. And then the big pool, mostly adults were in it. It was so hot. I had to keep getting out and getting back in and getting out, and I had to like get used to it and, you know, get brave enough to put my stomach in it. So it was really, really hot. So that's the only downside to Glenwood Springs, is that there's not multiple pools that you can choose from with the right temperature for you. It's just one big pool, and you just have to kind of like deal with that, because the other pool, like I said, is pretty cold. But it's beautiful. The backdrop is just gorgeous, and again, the town is just so cute. So I would do that as a weekend trip. I did do it as a weekend trip, and I want to do it again. I loved it. I can't recommend that enough. It was really cool. So Pagosa Springs. So I like going to Hot Springs as a day trip, but Pagosa Springs was so far from my house. It was like 5.5 hours without traffic. And we hit traffic, so I don't know. I don't remember how long it took. But we ended up doing it with 2 friends as a weekend trip, for mine and her birthday fell on the same week. And it was just such a nice birthday weekend. It was just so relaxing and beautiful. It did not look like we were in Colorado. It was this like gorgeous resort, like with bridges you could walk through the water and fish, and just all these beautiful trees and flowers. It just really looked like a gorgeous like vacation resort. It is expensive though. So for the 2 nights, it was, for the 4 of us, over $700 to split. So split between 4 people is not bad, but that only includes your room in the hot springs. It does not include food. There is food on the resort, and there are a lot of different assortments. There's a lot of like drink like stands and stuff like that. So there is a lot of food, but it's expensive. So there is a big like lively town that the hot spring is in. So we ended up doing, well, we usually bring our own food. So we brought like bagels and peanut butter or whatever. So we did that for breakfast, but we ended up doing like lunch and dinner one of the days outside of the resort, and we ate one of the days on the resort, and it was really expensive. Mark and I ordered a salad. He got a sandwich, and we ordered something else, like a side of fries or something, and it was like almost $40. So it's really expensive, the food there. So try to bring your own food or eat outside of the resort. But it was really nice. When we came, they gave us like a water bottle and everything. You get robes. It was just so beautiful. It was just such a nice, relaxing spa weekend. I would love to go again with friends. It was just really, really nice. And you can stay, I think you can stay for 1 night, which I think is worth it, because you get access to the pools the next day after you check out of your room. So you can definitely go 1 day and then stay 1 night and go the next day. It's probably like cheaper that way. The day passes are pretty cheap too if you live close enough, but again, from Denver, it's very far. So my favorite hot spring, number 1, was Iron Mountain. So I loved Iron Mountain so much, and I feel like a part of that might be because it's the first hot spring I had visited here. So I think just like the magic of it and just seeing it for the first time just like really stuck with me. So I just can't get past that feeling, I guess. It was really clean. Oh, I forgot to mention Pagosa was like super clean too. And even people were going around like taking the temperature of all the pools, and there's like a million pools to choose from. And they like change the temperature. Like they check it every, like, I don't know. I felt like they were checking it like every hour. But again, Iron Mountain again is just a bunch of pools. It is like a lively town, so you could eat there and everything. But they have a lot of food at the resort, and it was like pretty cheap. Mark and I got flatbreads, and they were like so good. So we had that for lunch. We stayed like 4 hours. We felt like we were there like 10 hours. Like we could not be in the hot springs anymore. So it was a good amount of time, but there was so much traffic on the way back. Oh my gosh, we did it as a day trip. It took us like 5 hours to get home, 4 or 5 hours to get home, something like that. So it is a full day of a trip, just so you know. So yeah, it was really clean. It was just beautiful. There were like geese and stuff. Like it was pretty. The mountains were covered in snow. It was just gorgeous. And there were a lot of pools. And so there's another pool that is just for children, and it's a big pool, and it's like a little cooler. There were some kids in the adult pools, but like not really, mostly like teenagers, which, you know, whatever is fine. But there is a pool designated for children. That's what I forgot to mention too for Hot Sulphur Springs, is that they do have 4 pools specific to children, and it's not enforced at all. There were children in like every pool, even the like really pretty fountain pool. There were just a ton of children in that pool, like yelling and crying and whatever, so that's like kind of annoying. I feel like the hot springs should really enforce the children rule, because they have their specific pool, and adults without children are going there to relax and get away from kids, you know, so not to be rude or anything, but I feel like the hot springs should enforce that. So those are the 5 hot springs I visited so far. Let me know in the comments if you have visited any of them or any that you recommend. I know I have to go to Strawberry. Everybody's been telling me to go. I'm gonna get there. I want to stay overnight though, because they have like really cute cabins and everything, so I think that would be a really cute weekend trip. So anyway, that's all for now. My recommendations, my pros and cons of each of the 5 I visited, and I also wrote a blog about this with pictures, so I'm still getting into editing and all that, so I'll try to edit some pictures into this video if I can. But yeah, anyway, check out my blog. I'll put the link in the bio. Okay, till next time.